The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sack Head Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sack Head Sean and Sack Head Clint. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sack Head Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
Sack. Sack. Sack.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sack Head Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sack Head Sean and Sack Head Clint. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sack Head Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
Sack. Sack. Sack.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen. And welcome to the Sack Heads Radio Show. I'm your host, Sack Head Clint, where our intro is so awesome, you get to hear it twice.
Well, I can hear it. I had to ask all the people in chat, well, can you hear it? And they say, yes, we can.
Okay, could you hear it?
Do you want me to lie, or do you want the honest answer?
No, I want the honest answer, because I couldn't hear it in my headset.
I couldn't hear a damn thing.
I couldn't hear a damn thing either. But our intro is an amazing intro. So, I mean, really hearing it twice.
It's the best.
It's about the same length as a regular song that you would download on iTunes, and you only get it free here. So,
Golf Dog says, yep, I hear Clint now. So,
awesome.
All must be well. He also said, yep, Sackhead intro.
Twice. Times two.
Well, all right. That's because it's so damn good.
Because it's so damn good. Exactly. How are you? First of all, Jersey Joe, thank you so much for the intro, for the fantastic show. Really appreciate it.
I'm digging Jersey Joe as the intro guy. That's like way cool for a number of reasons. Not the least of which is it makes Jersey Joe happy because he wasn't really a morning guy, and
right.
it turns out that he's an evening kind of guy, kind of like me. I mean, dude, we're like brothers in arms, Jersey Joe, because I don't go to bed until like 3.
You're more of a Twilight guy because of the twilight of your life. Jersey Joe is
I'm on Golden Pond then.
I was going to say Cocoon.
Wait, does that mean that I get to be Wilford Brimley?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, I'll be Wilford Brimley.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay. And the chat room is filling up. We got Golf Dogs in there, Mike's in there, and Dave Milner, the unpleasant blind guy who isn't. I mean, yeah, he's blind, but he's not unpleasant.
Not pleasant?
Oh, he's very pleasant.
He's pleasant.
He's pleasant.
Yeah, we've been through this, so his name's an oxymoron.
I know.
Except for the blind part.
Is that what happens?
May be true.
You know, because you hate that because someone's oxy gets gored? Is that what happens?
Yes.
Okay, and then you call it stupid.
Yes.
And then it's an oxymoron.
Yes, it's a stupid ox.
That seems very...
It's a stupid ox.
Wow, Dave Milner says, do they make cocoons that big? Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yes, they do.
Jeez.
I'm looking at one. Trust me on
Alrighty
this.
then.
Yeah.
Mike asks, is Sean doing the Tue Thu thing tonight?
Look, I wasn't going to say anything, particularly with Freedom Fest coming up, and we have a lot of folks that we enjoy seeing at Freedom Fest. I'm not sure if they really enjoy seeing us, but because we have that coming up, I wasn't really going to get into it. Tend to sign a couple pieces of paper there, and Sean, I don't want them to ask to take a picture with Sean and sign it in a tutu. But since you asked,
it's not his toe hair then.
It's not his toe hair. No.
Okay, right.
But since it was asked, Sean did have a recital tonight.
Okay. I can't keep his schedule straight.
Hang on a second. He had a recital in San Francisco.
Oh, that's why he couldn't make it through. He couldn't get back in time
through the traffic.
I mean, hell, that's 2.5 hours sometimes.
Now, for those that think I'm lying to you, BZ is a very honest individual. So am I. But
I am.
If you don't believe me, did we or did we not get a text message from Sean saying he was not going to make it back from the Bay Area?
Yes.
San Francisco.
Yep. Matter of fact, with my little thing right here.
No. Use your phone, not your little thing.
Okay. Thank you.
That away. Thank you.
Sean said, yes, I will not be able to make it to the show tonight. I don't suspect I'm going to make it back from San Francisco. So there it is.
There it is. And so if you have... It's kind of like...
He left it nebulous, though. I was kind of open-ended. He didn't tell me. Maybe he told you.
I don't know if his end was open, but in San Francisco and in the tutu, I'm guessing.
You have to be very wary of that kind of thing.
You have to be very careful. So if you want to know what Sean looks like when he's doing one of these recitals, think of Fred Flintstone with the Twinkle Toes episode, like when he's bowling.
Remember and it has that little sound effect with it that goes like that.
That's Sean.
That's perfect.
A perfect example. But we have Freedom Fest coming up, which I'm very excited about.
Do we? And it's like
very excited.
We said that last week. We said, and now Freedom Fest is literally next week.
Yes. So after tonight, we will not be. The next time you will hear us live, we will be from Las Vegas, Nevada.
That's right.
At the Paris at Freedom Fest. And it's exciting.
I am really looking forward to it.
SHR is actually going to be part of a panel.
Hey, I was just going to say, can you or will you talk about that? Because I find that very interesting because you are part of that now.
I am now, and Sean was first, and I'm going to be on it now as well. I don't want to talk about too much about it, but we'll certainly get into that when the time comes. But part of this is we had to submit photographs of ourselves and a brief bio. So, I would much rather give a brief bio about myself, because there's not too much is known about me.
And purposely so.
In particular, purposefully so. But there is going to be a bio out there at Freedom Fest, and so I would much rather give our listeners who have been loyal to us for so long and who we appreciate the first taste of a little bit about my background.
Okay.
And because like I said, it is going to be in this bio for the panel that comes out. No specifics, but just a brief bio. And my background is this: besides being one of the co-founders with Sean and Sacco for SHR Media Network, as well as the Sack Heads radio show, I have been very honored in my past. I had over 20 years of experience serving the public in a law enforcement role. I know that is super shocking for everybody to hear. And I'm not going to talk about where specifically or anything like that because it doesn't matter.
And I'm not going to talk about where it was either.
Well, I appreciate that.
Can I, maybe I can, and this is a perfect time for this little tidbit of information. Did anyone ever wonder where the name Sack Heads Radio came from?
I don't want to bring that out without Sean.
Okay, all right.
I can't.
Then I'm not going to go there. All right.
I can't bring that out without Sean.
You got it. Good. That is a good point. It should be
that's a collective.
The whole crew. You're right.
Yeah, that's got to come out about where that name came from because it's pretty interesting.
I have a question though, because with regard to Sean in San Francisco, I can remember a long time ago. Polk Street used to be the big gay district in San Francisco.
I wouldn't know that, and I don't know how
And
you know that.
the only reason I know that is
that.
because I wanted to work for SFPD many years ago, and I swear to God this is true, because I drove by it and I saw it, and I almost had a crash when I looked and saw the name of the business. At least a long time ago, there was a shop there called Hard on Leather, and I'm not kidding. Now, of course, it wouldn't shock anybody today because that's standard fare.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
then it was a little. I had to do a double take and almost ended up rear-ending somebody. Ooh, shouldn't have said that either.
You shouldn't have said that.
Yep.
But
I was in a car.
It's Freedom Fest, libertarians, right? It's all good.
That's true.
It's all good. That's your personal decision.
It is, because we're all consenting adults in this bus.
Yeah, we love and accept you as you are.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Sean, too.
And Sean, too. And we've talked about that, but we actually really don't care if you want to. You rear-end as many dudes as you want, basically, and we're good with that.
That's why Sackheads is such a welcoming and an accommodating show.
We are.
It is. It really is.
It
when you
really
think
is.
about it.
It is.
It's like Dave says, there's no judgment here.
There's not. Zero.
It's just anyone can come in through the door. Anybody can call on the phone. We'll talk to anybody.
And if you don't want to come in the front door, you can come in the back door.
That's right.
Some people don't like that, but whatever. That's all.
Well, yeah, it's all a personal preference. That's
Right.
all it is.
Oh, that's gross.
Yeah. Well, have we beaten that horse enough?
I don't know. Oh my goodness. Are we time to get... Okay. So the first topic I want to get into is Clint Eastwood is awesome. And
Yes, for any number of reasons.
For a lot of reasons, but one in particular. Number one is he has the same name as me. Not Eastwood, but the Clint part. And so that naturally is awesome. Did I ever tell you I actually had a conversation with him about our first names?
No.
I actually met Clint Eastwood and had a conversation with him for a good probably 5 or 10 minutes. And I said, hey, my name's Clint. Also, it's kind of funny, and I don't want to talk about the circumstances for how I met him. Nothing negative. But
You didn't meet him in the restaurant that he used to own, right?
I did not.
Because he used to own a restaurant, and he used to be the mayor of Carmel.
Yes, he did. But
And he owned a restaurant in Carmel.
No, I did not meet him there. But he actually said, Clint, that's a damn good, strong name. And I said, I absolutely agree. He said, that's
You
a
bet.
man's name. I said, I absolutely agree. And his dad's name was Clint also. And I didn't know that.
Okay. I'm looking at a bio. It says he is Clinton Eastwood Jr.
Yeah. So good conversation. Nice man.
God, did you know he's 87?
Yeah.
He's 87 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, question. This is a trivia question for everybody in chat, everybody listening live, everybody listening in podcast. Even if you're listening in podcast, you can still scream at the computer. What was Clint Eastwood's first movie
Was it
where he had a speaking role?
first movie?
Yep. A lot of people are not they're not going to get this, but when I tell them,
Was it Kid Galahad?
no.
I don't know. What
No,
was it?
it's going to be a movie that, unless you specifically know the answer, you're never going to get. Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Really?
Yep, 1954.
Wow. Never would have guessed that.
Yep. He played a very young professor kind of looking guy, and he's wearing a lab coat. And I just happened to see it the other night, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, he looks like a kid. But a really tall kid, because he's 6'4".
Right.
You're about 6'3", 6'4", right?
I am just over 6'2".
Okay. Was he about your height?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, he's a tall dude.
He's very tall. So, greatest Clint Eastwood movie of all time. Go.
Oh boy, that's a toughie.
I have one. We're ready to go. I have one right now.
The first one that pops off my brain is Dirty Harry, 1971.
Okay. Good movie. I'm going to have to go with The Outlaw Josie Wales.
Okay. Damn near any and every Western that he did was fabulous.
Yep.
I look at, what's the one, one of his most recent, Unforgiven. Unforgiven was just incredible.
I have another good one for you, but it's not a Western. Where Eagles Dare.
Oh, yes. Richard Burton was in that.
Yep.
And, God, that was from an Alistair MacLean book, a British author, Where Eagles Dare. Wow, that is a good movie. Here's another one that nobody thinks of, Thunderbolt and Lightfoot.
Yeah.
With Jeff Bridges, a really, really, really young Jeff Bridges. George Kennedy was in that.
And
one of my favorite older character actors.
And Any Which Way But Loose with Clyde, the orangutan.
Yes.
So the reason Clint Eastwood is so awesome now is he's looking to make a movie about the French train attack that was thwarted in 2015.
Oh, right, by the U.S. soldiers.
And he's casting the three guys, the three men who stopped that attack were from California, and he's casting the three of them to play themselves.
Wow.
In the movie.
Number one, that's really cool.
Yep. The name of the movie is The 1517 to Paris, a film based on the book, which those three individuals actually co-wrote. The film began production this week, and Clint Eastwood cast those three individuals to play themselves. What a class act.
That's really cool. I like it. It brings up the first movie that I thought of when you said that was Act of Valor, about the SEALs, because the people that played the soldiers in that film were SEALs, with a few exceptions. There were a couple of other actors that were in there. So, number one, kudos to Clint Eastwood for doing that. And number two, he's taking a chance. He's taking a chance because he's got to find out.
Old.
Well, yeah, he probably doesn't give a fuck.
Give a shit.
Yeah.
The guy's an accomplished actor, director, producer.
Yeah.
It's
not like he needs the money or anything.
Right. I'm pretty sure the man knows what works and what doesn't.
I really, really, really hope that he discovers that he can pull whatever acting out of them is necessary. And the other thing that's very interesting that people probably don't know about Clint Eastwood, he owns Malpaso Productions, and he's owned that for many years. That was named after a creek on his ranch, which he still owns down in, it's like near Carmel and Big Sur, kind of around in there. He is known in the film industry as consistently bringing in films, A, quickly, and B, under budget. At budget or under budget.
Well, it makes sense because he tends to be more conservative, I think.
And I don't think he takes probably an assload of takes either.
Yeah. Yeah, he probably knows what he wants and gets it done.
That's what I'm guessing. So, Dave Milner mentioned this in there. Gran Torino. That was kind of a sleeper. And I missed it in the theaters. And I only saw it last year for the first time. And I thought, this is a really quiet, muted movie, but I really, really like that. He's aged well. I got to tell you this. I don't know if you even have anything like this. Do you have a least favorite Clint Eastwood movie? Because I do.
I do.
Mine is Heartbreak Ridge.
Really?
Yeah. I thought that was terrible.
I like it just because there's some great one-liners in there.
There are some good one-liners in there.
I mean, if there's good one-liners in there and he plays a badass Marine.
But it kind of made U.S. soldiers look like they're all dumb fucks, and I didn't particularly like that.
It made recon guys look like that.
Oh, maybe that's
right. It made recon guys look like that, and every recon guy I've ever known, met, had the opportunity to spend time with, they were not like that. They were the most squared away guys.
Exactly.
That I've had the pleasure of being with.
Because it's not exactly it's not a luxury they can afford, really.
Right. So in that sense, yeah, but it did have some great one-liners.
Well, that is a fabulous thing that Clint has decided that he's going to throw real live guys in there. I really, really, really hope that it works out well for him. You know, we were talking about the movie Act of Valor. I don't know if folks saw it here, but there are some really innovative things and unusual things that occurred in that movie. I can't think of the producers. They were called Two Brothers or something Brothers, something like that. The rounds that they shot, except for a very few select number of scenes, were all shot live ammo. The filmmakers used a Canon EOS 4 digital SLR as the camera throughout the whole thing. So they were able to shoot it. They were able to go places with that little bitty camera with a whole bunch of accoutrement hanging off of it. But that was the first film that was ever shot with a DSLR.
Wow.
And I think that's pretty cool. So, for example, when they're on the riverine boat and they're coming down that river and they're shooting the chain gun at all the trucks, that's real. That's live.
So they obviously didn't film this in California because that would be illegal for them to possess that weapon, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
That's why Ronnie Barrett is not in California anymore.
Yeah, it makes a great rifle.
Oh, the Barrett 50 cal, the M1A. Yep. Oh, hell yeah, that's a great sniper rifle.
Yep. So you had a story out of Great Britain.
I did, and luckily what I had to do is I don't think about this kind of stuff very much, and we don't talk about it very much here on Sackheads. But if you're not aware, there's a particular issue that's occurring in the UK with regard to an infant and a young couple. And essentially the British courts have said that there's a certain limited time, which may have already expired, for the couple to justify the life of their newborn infant. Mm-hmm. And I think that deadline was today, if I'm not mistaken. But in the process of looking at that, I came across this particular article, and it's from the Washington Times. And this is highly irregular, but you gave me permission to do it, so I'm going to go ahead and do it because it's your show. I do it from time to time on mine when I find an article is so good that it's something that I know for a fact I could not have written. And the author of a particular article has said exactly what I wanted to say myself, only in words that are so much more superior than anything that I could have done.
So he wrote it in Greek?
So yes.
Okay.
This is by a woman named Rebecca Hagelin, and it's from the Washington Times. The title is When the Government Becomes a God. Kill him, the judge decreed. Yes, and do it at once, the tribunal agreed. The parents of the convicted begged for mercy. How dare you question our authority, the courts answered. He must die. What I had to do, by the way, is I had to read this a couple of times because it got, well, you have kids, for example. Mm-hmm. But what is his crime, the parents desperately asked. He is not normal, the judge coldly declared. His life is therefore of no value. Please, the mother cried, he is my child, my baby. He is of immense value to me. I treasure every hour, every moment with him. Please give me my baby and let me search the world for help. And please, the father begged, he is of immeasurable value to me. I am his daddy. I will fly to the ends of the earth to find help for him. Until his last breath, I will be his protector and helper. But the government courts, the gods of life and death, declared that the baby must die. The baby's crime? He's sick. He's very sick. And he's unable to speak for himself. My imaginings of this frightful scene reflect the realities of the battle over 11-month-old Charlie Gard. Even as I write this column, Charlie's mom and dad continue to beg for the life of their son. They're fighting for him as God ordained parents to do. They're cuddling Charlie as they're able, adoring and immersing his tiny body in comforting, warm love. Despite the fact that his prospects for a long life are dim, and despite the fact that he will never meet our court standards for normal, he's loved and cherished by his family. Each hour of his life has value and meaning, not because of what he can and cannot do, but because God said it is so. The European courts have the supreme authority to decide the fate of all European citizens, partly because of the socialist government-run health care structure that provides, this is in quotes, free, quote, care to all. Free care that comes with a noose. A government tribunal deciding who gets to live and who has an obligation to die. The name of the highest court declares its intent, the European Court of Human Rights. It's a court system established not to protect God-given rights, but to allow a few humans to arrogantly determine what the rights of other human beings are. They are the gods of Europe. This is not an issue of Charlie's medical care costing these gods too much. The parents have raised millions from private donations to pay for treatments. This is not an issue of these gods being burdened by a cumbersome child. Charlie's parents want to leave Europe and bring Charlie to the United States for treatment. This is not an issue of there being no medical professionals willing to treat the child. Several doctors and hospitals are pleading to treat Charlie. They've even offered to do so for free. No, this is an issue of government control. This is what happens when the government becomes God. America, take note. If we demand a society where the government gods provide free health care, we will pay for it with our freedom, even by giving up the sacred right to protect our sons and daughters, and we also may be forced one day to sacrifice our own children to the gods.
It's a powerful article, and it hits particularly. I don't want to say particularly close to home, but it hits close to home on a couple levels. Number one is as a father, as a parent. I could not even begin to imagine what those parents are going through. As an American citizen and as one who believes in natural law and in that rights are God-given, including the right to life.
Yes.
I would have a serious issue would be the understatement of the year in terms of if that were a judge ruling for my child. And I would not live in a society like that. I choose not to. There was a war that was fought a couple hundred years ago about that level of government control, and we won. That being said, California is trying to push through universal health care.
Yes, its own single-payer system.
And it will cost the state of California $400 billion.
It has no idea how it's going to fund
which is
that.
More than the entire state budget for the state of California. It exceeds the entire state budget for California, yet they want to do it anyways. They've shelved it because this is they're coming into an election year, and the nurses union, CNOA, I believe it's CNOA, the California Nurses CNA,
CNA.
Nurses Association, is going ballistic. They have been at the state capitol, and you see them in downtown Sacramento. You hear about it all the time, or not all the time. Over the past several days, they've been at this protesting this. They want it to happen. How do you pay for that? How do you make that happen? How do you ration? And you can go down the road and think of, well, if that happens in California, you can appeal to the appellate court, and the Ninth Circuit would probably side with them, probably, although maybe not even the Ninth Circuit is that batshit crazy. Who knows? And then it would go to the Supreme Court, and maybe it would get overturned.
The big difference is California is not the United States government.
No.
It can't print money. So where does that money come from?
Well, well, not only that, but so can a state mandate health care? I think that there is a constitutional argument that, yes, they can, because the Constitution does not prohibit a state from doing that. That being said, and we've talked about this on the show when Obamacare was up there, hey, not a federal issue. The Constitution doesn't have the right to do that. Romney Care was passed in Massachusetts. That's a state issue. Can they do it? I think there's an argument there that the state can do it. I disagree with it, but I think there's an argument that the state can do it under the Constitution. But when you're talking about rationing care, which would have to happen, or people not getting care because there's no budget, or the quality of care getting so poor, that would then become a federal issue, because then you would have constitutional challenges to not the requirement itself, but the refusal of service based on age, for example, right? Because that would fall under age discrimination lawsuits. Well,
tons of issues for that.
They're too old, we can't afford the care, or they're too young, we can't afford the care.
Yes.
Or they're too disabled, we can't afford the care.
That's right. We cannot afford the palliative care
right.
necessary
yes.
for all of these individual people.
But then the argument's going to be, well, hey, you're denying care based on disability. That's a violation of federal law. You're denying care based on age. That's a violation of federal law. And so there would be challenges down the road. So I certainly think it's problematic. But ladies and gentlemen in California, this is coming. They've shelved it not because
sooner or later.
Yeah, they've shelved it not because they don't want to do it. They've shelved it because they can't afford the political capital right now. And here's the scary part. There was just an article that came out a couple days ago where a couple Republican senators are saying that the health care bill to repeal and replace Obamacare is dead. These are Republicans who can't get their together to get rid of Obamacare, which is going down this path because they want
an entirely separate issue.
It is, but and I know we're up against a break, because they want bipartisanship. I'm sorry, did the Democrats give a crap about bipartisanship when they rammed this down our throat?
Can we hold this topic over when we come back? Because there are a couple of things that I would like to mention.
Yeah, we will. Look, we're up against a break, folks. When we come back, we're going to talk about this healthcare topic, particularly with the couple Republicans in name only, saying that this is dead, and we're going to get into this. All this and more after the break on the SHR Media Network Sack Head's radio show.
Yep.
Be back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sack Heads radio show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sack Heads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press Radio, and YouTube through the SHR Media page for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
Hey, this is Mim from Freedom Fest, the world's largest gathering of free minds. Join your friends from SHR Media at the beautiful Paris Resort in Las Vegas, Nevada, July 19th through the 22nd for 3 amazing days of liberty-oriented discussion, investment advice, and the Anthem Film Festival. It's our big 10th anniversary, featuring keynote speaker William Shatner and Freedom Fest favorites, including Steve Forbes, Jim Rogers, Lee Edwards, David Boaz, Doug Casey, Dinesh D'Souza, John Stossel, Lisa Kennedy, Grover Norquist, Peter Schiff, and many more. Don't miss out. Register at freedomfest.com for $100 off the regular registration rate when you use the all-caps code SHR Media.
Featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American maggots won't. BZ is fundamentally changing America one diaper at a time. Just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, where the speech is free, but the drinks are not. The Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night, commencing at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, where pushback is a requisite art form in and of itself. Let your ossicles be truly liberated when you listen to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, only on SHR Media Network. No ferrets were harmed in the making of this ad.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Sack Heads Radio Show. I'm your host, Sack Head Clint. With me this evening
is not Sack Head Sean.
Is not Sack Head Sean. He's too busy wearing a tutu and dancing around.
But I think he swears that it improves his agility and balance, though. I think that's one of the things that he said that is a plus for that. The only thing is, and I don't know, maybe you do, Clint, can he do the thingy on his toes? I mean, are his toes strong enough?
I don't know if he does any thingy on his toes. That would be like some weird foot fetish thing, I'm thinking.
Okay, that's
I'm not.
Good point.
I don't know that our listeners really want to see that. But you can go to allaroundthebarnyard.net, and I'm sure you can find a picture of Sean.
Allaroundthebarnyard.net. Nicely played.
Thank you.
Nicely played. One final thing about that particular case, and wrapping that up. Mm-hmm. The European courts are predicating this. It's on a negative as opposed to a positive. And what I mean is this. They're saying not why you must keep him alive justify it.
Right.
They're saying you must justify why you keep him alive, as opposed to it's okay. They're saying give us a reason not to kill him,
right? Not
give us a reason to do the reverse, to do the opposite.
Yeah, give us a reason. I don't know. He's my 11-month-old son. That's why you keep him alive.
Just that way, that fashion tells you all you need to know in the massive difference between our courts here in the United States and the courts in Europe, coupled with the fact that that's an entity that's not in the UK.
And folks, that's the difference between a socialized society, between a socialist society and a republic that we have. There's a prime example, and I don't care if it's socialist, if it's Marxist, if it's communist, if it's fascist. If it is a big government, a government with a lot of governmental authority, this is what you get. This is why our founders set us up to be a limited government country.
Yes, we're a constitutional republic.
Yes.
And here's also
and guess
the difference.
What? And that means, I'm sorry to interrupt you, BZ, that also means that the majority cannot vote away the rights, such as the right to life, of the minority, of a minority group.
Well, otherwise, you'd have what I call the demography is prophecy rule. Now, that's coming. That's an issue for another day. But what that means is that people can't, just as you say, vote away your rights because for whatever reason, like leftists, they don't like, say, for example, your free speech. Mm-hmm. Here's the other portion of that. Coming back here, not in the UK, but here. Do you remember when people, and she was, I don't know, I have very mixed feelings about Sarah Palin, but when she was running with McCain as VP, she was saying and suggested that there were going to be death panels with regard to people and the administration of health care.
Yeah, I remember that.
Particularly with regard to single payers.
Yep.
And she was ridiculed by leftists from the left to the right and all points in between. Since then, Ezekiel Emanuel, who is the doctor that helped create Obamacare, has said it's not impossible that we're going to have to more closely triage to whom we, in our wisdom, our infinite wisdom, decide who's going to get certain health care. So, in this case, with Charlie Gard, well, you know, and how callous and easy it is to say, he has no value, he has no worth, he's not going anywhere, he's not going to be a composer. And just like you mentioned about old BZ, Okay, been around for a long time. What kind of palliative care am I due because I'm retired and I'm no longer, as far as Ezekiel Emanuel is concerned, I'm no longer a contributing member of society.
Right. Look, there's a curve, right? Because at some age, you're too young to really be a contributing member of society, and as that age increases, you become more of a value. You have more potential stored up in you. You peak, probably, I'm guessing, in like your 30s, maybe, right, late 30s, early 40s, and then you start to decline again.
It's a bell curve.
It's basic economics. There is only a finite amount of services available. It's not a private industry, therefore it's not profitable to create new treatments, to create new medications, to have experimental whatever. Everything is regulated by the government. There's a finite amount of X. There's a finite amount of ORs. There's a finite amount of doctors. There's a finite amount of shoulder surgeons, whatever it is.
Exactly.
There's a certain amount of chemo. And as a result of economics, those decisions have to be made. One could even argue that those judges don't enjoy making those decisions, but that those panels, very cold, very far removed, have to make decisions on life and death based upon the economic reality of the situation. And it's cold. It's a very cold, callous way of doing things.
It is.
But that's what happens when the government is supreme and controls all aspects of your life. Do you remember the Twilight Zone episode where I think it's a librarian who is going to the judge, basically, and the judge says the librarian is, you serve no more purpose. You have no more purpose in our society, and therefore you have been selected to be terminated. Do you remember this episode?
Oh, yes. Quite clearly. The funny thing is, Twilight Zone, although there's tons of episodes, in truth, the original Twilight Zone was only on for 3 years. Mm-hmm. And everybody seems to think that. Here's another reason why we have the best people in chat. Folks, if you're not in the chat room, you need to get enrolled. Get on that chat roll. Go in there right now, because Dave Milner just put up this article. And it's from, of all places, SlateMagazine.com. And its title is, Canada Has Death Panels. And that's a good thing.
This is a very real perspective for an element on the left. I'm not saying all Democrats, but I'm saying, look, they believe this stuff. They believe that society has to be controlled by a large government for whatever reason. This is why it is so important to have a interpretation of the Constitution that focuses on original intent. Because the moment you start going down this slippery slope to bring back,
and now I get it. Thank you.
You're welcome. To bring back a joke from last week. Once you start going down this path, there's no turning back. There's no turning back. Or it's very, very difficult to turn back, but you can't say it's okay in this situation and not in this situation, because that Overton window moves, right? That window of what's acceptable moves incrementally.
Yes, the goalpost keeps changing and changing.
And it changes small. So what's acceptable in today's society was not acceptable even 30 years ago, 20 years ago, right? Look at the difference in television shows between what was acceptable 30 years ago and what's acceptable today.
Okay, here's a perfect example. A perfect example from the 70s of all crazy times. I ask you, Clint, could you do Sanford and Son today?
No.
No. Could you do All in the Family today?
No.
Could you do
Good
Rowan
Times.
and Martin's Laugh-In today?
No.
You
Bizarre.
couldn't address any of those situations, any of those jokes. You can't do it today.
No, well, not only that, but look at the language that's used now. right, on TV, and look at the even the commercials. And I'm not a prude by any stretch of the imagination. All I'm saying is things are moved incrementally,
Yes.
and I'm using this one medium to show what I'm talking about. And you look at even from like the 1900s and how the types of laws that are written, how things are interpreted, particularly in states like California, versus what we had before. And there are things now that people stand for that people would not have stood for in their elected officials before. John F. Kennedy would have been a conservative.
He
by today's standards.
If he attempted, let's say historically speaking, and he was still voting situationally, they would kick him out of the Democrat Party.
Yes,
he would not be accepted. He would be a blasphemer for even thinking any of those things. And the militaristic actions he took still are considered by some people on the left heinous, terrible, incredible. It was Kennedy who said those people who make peaceful evolution possible make violent revolution probable.
Yes.
That's Jack Kennedy back in the 1960s saying that. Incredibly prescient then and now.
And what's interesting is you look at Trump's policies and kind of the way where he's trying to take the military and the things he wants to accomplish with that, and building the Navy back up. And we talked about that last week or the week before or whatever. And the things he's doing, that's very much in line with that mentality, with that Reagan mentality, and even I would say with maybe some of that Kennedy mentality as well. But you got to remember, Kennedy served in World War II.
Yes, he did. And he brought that generation's ethos and commitment and discipline to that informed his decisions and his life, because he was literally part of that called the greatest generation.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Which you couldn't do that today. You couldn't. How could you hold a war? For example, one of the things my dad did tell me is that in pilot training school, washout rates were 30 to 35%. Depending upon where you were trained, you had anywhere from 5 to 6 to 8 deaths per month in basic fly school. No one would even remotely tolerate that today. Friendly fire was incredible back in World War II. There are things that we just do not tolerate today that, as far as it was concerned yesterday, the gloves were off and it was war.
Well, it was total war. Our generation has never known a total war. I hope we don't, but
it'll be short. It'll be really, really short.
Think about the things that that generation has had to endure, and even the Vietnam generation. We don't have that anymore, right? We haven't had, and I'm not complaining, but we don't have a generation who survived a Great Depression. We don't have a generation that has survived a global war, a horrendous global war. We haven't had that in
we have people that can't take verbal trigger warnings.
But this is why, right? We have a generation of people that haven't had to be tough. They haven't had to go without. And look, I'm not slamming that. We're blessed as a country.
Lucky.
Yes, we are very blessed as a country to have had a generation that did not have to go without.
Yeah,
I'm in my 40s.
Right, but that's not your point.
That's not my point, right? My point is, this is where we are because we have not known adversity. And I hate to say it, but maybe they need to have some adversity, right? I think in our attempts to shelter our children from all the horrendous things in life, because your dad, my grandparents, my parents, in terms of the Vietnam War, some of the horrible things that they've seen and dealt with, in our trying to protect our children from seeing and being exposed to those things, we've gone too far and created this new generation of snowflakes, to use the current term.
And it's interesting that you're going there, because just today, I wish I could remember where, but I read an article which indicates that there may be a bad moon rising on the left, and that's this. The millennials are the people that are currently mostly demanding the safe spaces. The Gen Zers, it's said, are those people who are tending to lean more to the right. Not necessarily on great social issues, but they're leaning to the right in terms of budget, country, military, discipline, etc. And some of the folks on the left are becoming uneasy with that. So there may, in fact, be some hope coming on the horizon, because even the Gen Zers now are seeing that things are different. They're different for them than they were for the millennials.
They are. And, you know, there's a difference between people who have, for the most part, I think, served in the military, served in some form of public service.
Well, that was a huge difference.
Whether it's the fire service, whether it's law enforcement, whatever it is, and those that have not. And I think, and I was talking to some folks about this, and I think it's because those people who serve, be it military, law enforcement, fire, EMS, whatever it is, they still see things that are horrible, and they understand the value of life. They know what is out there, what bad things are out there. I'm not saying nearly the extent that people that survived World War II or Vietnam in the jungles. I'm not saying that, but they've seen things and they know what's out there, and they know what humanity is capable of. Versus and there's people in this society now that have been raised by these past generations that either have seen it or they haven't, and there's a huge divide, and those worlds really don't mix very well, because once you've seen certain things or been a part of certain things or done certain things, unless you've been there, it doesn't translate, right? And maybe I'm not making my point very clear.
No, you are making a point.
Somebody out there may have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, because maybe they haven't been there. I don't know.
On July 4th...
Am I rambling, or am I making sense?
No, you're making perfect sense. Because on July 4th, I read an article in its entirety by David Grossman, who wrote the novel On Killing.
Yep.
And his article was about
teaching our children to kill.
sheepdogs, and wolves.
Yeah.
And those people, each niche has an entirely different viewpoint on how everyone fits in together. I could tell you, when I was still a cop, I knew the people that were coming through in the academy. I could see it in the academy every day. Those people, men, women, both. It didn't matter. It was immaterial. When they came from a military background, they already had a certain sense of honor, courage, obligation, discipline, duty. You know, they knew that if you tell them you've got to be there at X number time, whatever time, they're going to do it. And it got to the point where it was a shocking difference between the two. And boy, have we gotten off topic.
We have, but I want to get back to this real quick.
But you make an excellent point. I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, and people, look, even if somebody went into the academy, they had no background in that, eventually from working the streets, from working the job, they see things, right? They're in that environment. They get a certain perspective.
They understand what humanity is,
exactly,
and what it can be,
correctly,
and what it looks like.
Yes, and what we had in World War I, in World War II, in Vietnam, we had, even if somebody wasn't directly involved in the fighting, in the war effort, there were those at home. Most families that felt it in one way or another. They lost a friend or a loved one or a family member, or they knew somebody who was deployed, or somebody in their family was deployed, or so that everybody still, for the most part, was touched by that war, by that generation.
A common sense of unity and sharing.
And yes, and experience. And we don't have that anymore. And I think that
there are leftists that have no idea, that have probably never spoken to anyone that has served in the military.
And look, and I think that this is part of the reason we have this divide. We don't have a shared national experience like that.
And they don't want it. Leftists don't want it.
Well, nobody wants it, but shit, how about
No. I mean the shared experience.
Right. We could have a great
to accept those people who have a sense of dedication.
Right. Yep. We are so far off topic, but it's an interesting societal discussion.
I still like it.
I like it too. But so we're going to jump in. We're going to start. We might as well just start it. We got 5 minutes, right? Look, Trump at G20. Man, you know, he met with the Chinese president, Jinping.
Yeah, Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping.
And the worst guy in the world.
You think so?
Well, just ask a leftist.
Oh, Putin.
Yeah.
Which is weird, right? Because wasn't the Clinton campaign colluding with the Ukrainians and the Russians?
No. Nothing to see here.
Yep. Forget I said anything there. But you know, North Korea's at it again. So I love the fact that the U.S. had a successful THAAD missile test.
Yes,
that was awesome. And of course, North Korea went ballistic. And then they sent a couple B-1 bombers over to drop some bombs, kind of in the Korean. Hey, that's like not in the north, but and then North Korea lost their shit about that too. But Trump, in the meeting with the Chinese president, said, "Hey, that China is a great trading partner," and that's true. But my favorite is when he says that the North Korean nuclear threat will be resolved, quote, one way or another. Well, I believe him.
Yeah, and Rex Tillerson, again, has said consistently to anyone who will listen to him,
yeah,
no option is off the table.
Absolutely.
None.
Absolutely. And you know, Trump said that, quote, you know, ending the nuclear missile testing, quote, may take longer than he'd like. It may take longer than you'd like, but there will be success in the end, one way or another. Something has to be done. And I like the fact that he had the testicular fortitude to stand up to the Chinese president, who is North Korea's number one trading partner, and tell him, look, this is going to be resolved. I understand that you would like to be on board, and that's great, whatever he said or however that looked, but bottom line is this is going to be resolved one way or another, and basically put him on notice.
Well, and
I don't think Obama would have ever done that.
Oh, Obama would never have come even remotely close to the rhetoric that Donald Trump said. He said essentially that Western civilization is at stake.
And it is.
And leftists threw camshafts nationally and globally that he dared to say even the two words Western civilization.
Yes.
When he said that Western civilizations have beautiful symphonies
and art. And the left heard a racist rhetoric.
All they heard were dog whistles to make them absolutely erupt on the left.
And you know what? This is why Trump's going to win re-election. But then Trump met with Putin. And after the meeting, they talked about supposedly Trump hit him on the election thing. How much or how hard, I don't know. I wasn't in the room, but he did come out and say, yes, we did discuss that. And Putin, of course, denied the involvement, but they did say they had a discussion, and he did hit him on it. But they did talk about, hey, listen, we have some objectives that are in common, and number one is ISIS. And not that he's necessarily hitting a reset button, because...
Yeah, and what happened to ISIS this week? Yeah, ISIS got kicked out of Mosul.
Yes. but in this talking with the president, and Rex Tillerson came out and spoke about it also. Something amazing came out of this, and this is 2 days after the meeting. There was a ceasefire in that region.
What a shock. But everyone on the left is saying we cannot have anything to do with the Russians because making any attempt to work with the Russians on anything is, well, you should be lined up and shot.
Right. Really? So negotiating a ceasefire in southwestern Syria
lined up and shot
is a bad thing when
Yep.
we're all trying to kill ISIS?
Yep, lined up and shot.
We can fuck with Assad later. He will still be there.
Lined up and shot.
Right now, everybody is trying to kill ISIS. Russia's trying to kill ISIS. We're trying to kill ISIS. Assad is trying to kill ISIS. Let's all go kill ISIS. And after we kill ISIS, then we can worry about Assad and what he is or isn't going to do, and then we can mess with the Russians. But, folks, I'd like to remind you, in World War II, they were our allies. We didn't trust them.
You get out of my head. Damn it, get out of my head.
We didn't trust them. We didn't play well immediately after the war was over.
Historically, now and forever, alliances change with political needs and wants.
Yes.
Period. End
Absolutely.
of statement. That shit happens.
Yes.
What did Patton do? Right after World War II, just before he was killed,
He said, "Let's go get the Russians."
He was left in place in Germany to supervise the rebuilding of Germany. That was before the Marshall Plan.
Well,
so
he wanted to go and finish Russia off.
What he began to see is that Germany had a systematic civilization, so to speak, in place that was not as barbaric as what he perceived the Russians were at the time, and he had a pretty good idea of where they were going. Yes,
they were
under Joseph Stalin, and advocated while we have all this shit right here in Europe
and Germany now too.
Let's go east.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what, folks? Patton was right.
Patton was right. Schwarzkopf was right.
Schwarzkopf was right. So the fact that we have a common goal and we can work together on this goal.
Oh, no. If it involves Russia, whoever's advocating that needs to be lined up and shot.
Look, and we talked about this even under Obama, if you recall. Look, we're past break time right now.
Yep, we'll be back.
So we're going to be back. When we come back, it's BZ's hodgepodge of topics.
What a load of crap I got.
We may also continue with some Russia stuff. All this and more on the Sack Heads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sack Heads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sack Heads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press Radio, and YouTube through the SHR Media page for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
Hey, this is Mim from Freedom Fest, the world's largest gathering of free minds. Join your friends from SHR Media at the beautiful Paris Resort in Las Vegas, Nevada, July 19th through the 22nd for 3 amazing days of liberty-oriented discussion, investment advice, and the Anthem Film Festival. It's our big 10th anniversary, featuring keynote speaker William Shatner and Freedom Fest favorites, including Steve Forbes, Jim Rogers, Lee Edwards, David Boaz, Doug Casey, Dinesh D'Souza, John Stossel, Lisa Kennedy, Grover Norquist, Peter Schiff, and many more. Don't miss out. Register at freedomfest.com for $100 off the regular registration rate when you use the all-caps code SHR Media.
The bloviating Zeppelin. He's Bigfooted enough radio shows to last a lifetime, courtesy of Sean, Clint, Ken, and Jersey Joe. Now it's time for him to waddle on his own 2 feet via the glorious SHR Media. Gird thy loins for the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Coming soon to ossicles near you. Excelsior.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Sack Heads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. Sack Head Clint here, back with BZ.
And not with Sack Head Sean.
Who is
However, it's
balleting himself across San Francisco.
Yeah, but it's 9 o'clock here. It's 9:05 here on the left coast. So it means it's midnight at the Oasis on the East Coast. And I bet Sean, if he isn't home, he's probably in his automobile right now. So I don't think he's tiptoeing through the tulips.
Really?
Right now. Well, unless his recital just went late. Was it supposed to go late? Now,
or if he's doing a private party.
Ooh, he could be making money on the side.
Yeah, look, if he's doing a private party right now, like a bachelor party.
Oh, damn it.
Because a bachelorette party is not going to hire him. But like a bachelor party, they might hire him.
Oh, I never thought about that. That's why you
think about it, because
that's why you're Sackheads, Clint. You
think
of that.
Absolutely. Look, because otherwise he'd be calling in, he'd be in chat, if he were in the car, he'd be on the phone talking to us. He'd be listening.
He's busy.
So he's busy, and obviously, if he's that busy, he's making a little money on the side. I'm guessing
you can only hope.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's no other reasonable explanation.
You can only hope.
So we're into BZ's hodgepodge of topics.
Money on the side.
Are you done? Are we done talking about Putin?
I don't know. I'm always good to go for it. We were commenting during the break that we thought that was a pretty nice last segment. We captured a lot of information and threw in a lot of opinions.
We did
about that kind of stuff.
We did, and we talked earlier about. Real briefly about, the courts, if certain things happen in California, and then the Ninth Circuit would probably uphold everything California does because the Ninth Circuit's just as batshit crazy as California, and then the Supreme Court may turn it over. But do you realize that Trump has, I think it's 137 vacancies in the federal court between the lower courts all the way up to fill? 137. That's nationwide. But talk about an opportunity to instill 137 younger conservative justices.
Talk about a golden opportunity.
I was going to say platinum, but you can downgrade it to golden.
Okay, platinum. Okay. I would completely agree. He has an opportunity to, let's be blunt. If there are two things that I value is clarity and honesty. And I'm going to be blunt. I think we should do everything under the sun to influence all of these courts to move to the right as much as possible.
Of course. I agree.
Because moving to the right will keep this country safe and moving in the right direction. Period. End of statement. I don't want to hear any refutation of that. So this is, in fact, like you say, the platinum opportunity that Trump should definitely take advantage of. There's a chick named Elizabeth Wydra. She's president of the Progressive Constitutional Accountability Center.
That is an oxymoron. You can't do that.
I know.
You can't do that. That sounds like something the ambulance chasing hack made up.
And
that
how many
sounds like a name
oxys?
he
How
would
many
come up with.
oxys does it take to be gored?
Seven.
Quite a bunch of them.
Yeah.
The
I think
trend.
7.
The trend is to look to young justices and judges on the lower courts to fill Supreme Court seats when they open up. That gives you several decades of influence on the Supreme Court, which goes back to what BZ said. I voted for Trump because he got it. That was who we're going to vote for, because he wasn't Hillary Clinton.
Right.
So if just two, in my brain housing group, just two things had to occur. Number one, he wasn't Hillary Clinton. Duh. Number two, I had to trust in his ability to make the installation, the logical and well thought out installation of any SCOTUS vacancies, and he did so with Neil Gorsuch.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, I still hear information that there's going to be another vacancy in SCOTUS this year.
Kennedy came out and said he's not retiring.
There's more. But wait,
Ruth
there's
Bader
more.
Ginsburg isn't going to go anywhere.
I know
she's 90.
They're pushing. And then I firmly believe that before 2021 comes, January 20th, 2021, there's going to be a third opening. Now, we've returned the court back to normal when basically we replaced Antonin Scalia with Neil Gorsuch. Okay, so now we're still on a 4 to 5 scale, and that's going to be that way.
4 to 4 with a swing vote.
Yeah, with Kennedy as swing, depending upon the prevailing prairie winds, sunspots, tidal pull, etc.
Yep.
One more appointment, and I'm sure that's going to come, is going to and should swing that bench. A third appointment by Trump, a good logical appointment, and you have locked up SCOTUS literally for at least one, maybe 2 generations.
Potentially, yeah.
And this country desperately needs that.
Absolutely. So who do you think is going to go by the end of the year?
I still think you're going to see any one of the big three, the big elder three. You're going to see Breyer, Ginsburg, Kennedy, no matter what Kennedy says. Little birdies are telling me that there's probably going to be another opening, and I don't mean to be evil, but Ginsburg is just not in good health. I mean, she may have.
We still wish her the best.
I don't wish
Absolutely
anything
don't wish any
evil
ill will
on her.
Nope, not at all.
You can look at her and see that she's not in good health.
Is there a mechanism in place? And I don't look. I have the utmost respect for the Supreme Court. Disagree with some of their opinions. Agree with some of their opinions.
I hated Robert's opinion.
Right,
but it's one of those things where I got to live with it.
Yeah, and I'm not one of these people that buys into, well, SCOTUS says it, so it's constitutional, because SCOTUS ruled on.
Hello, Dred Scott. Hello.
Yeah. So come on. But that being said, I don't wish any ill will on any of the members of the court. So, is there a mechanism in place other than impeachment? I don't think there is. If there was a member of the court on either side who was so old and perhaps there's some senility starting to set in, or there's some loss of mental acuity.
I'm sure there's a mechanism. I don't know what it is. That'd be an excellent question that I could pose to the underground professor, Dr. Michael Jones. I'm going to talk to him. So in my little tickler file in my brain, I'm going to make that a question as to the mechanism. But the other aspect of that,
I think it would almost have to be.
I'm sure there is a mechanism, but my guess would be they would have to be so terribly. There'd have to be so much pressure to do that, and that's the last thing that anyone wants to do.
And it'd almost be like they'd have to recuse themselves, correct?
There would probably, if it got to that point, there would probably be, at least on SCOTUS, terrible internal pressure.
Yeah.
Because, again, let's be honest, the justices don't write all their opinions. They look at everything. They've got an arseload of clerks who do all that information and the writing for them.
They say, I vote this, you figure out how to make it work.
In some cases, with some justices, it does, in fact, go that way. But this is a remarkable opportunity that you brought up about the openings in that. There are 15 current federal court vacancy. There are 21 seats on regional federal appeals circuits. And those are really, really influential courts where 8 of the 9 current members of SCOTUS came from. So because that's the well from which SCOTUS dips for its nominees, that's a really, really important
But there is
source.
137, right, in the
Yeah.
lower federal courts.
Yep.
Was my number correct?
Yep. No, you're absolutely correct.
Okay.
You're precisely
I just wanted to make sure I nailed it.
correct on that. There's a Justice Department guy by the name of Thomas Dupree who said this of Trump. He said that what Trump needs to do now is replicate the success of Justice Gorsuch on a massive scale
Yep, I
throughout
agree.
the courts and the courts of appeals and the district courts. District courts, and I don't know how many vacancies there are, but the second most important court in the nation is in D.C.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm unsure about the number of vacancies on that court, but if there is one, or soon to be, that's incredibly important.
You know, if Trump really wants to do something ingenious and good for the country, but ingenious, he would find a way to flip the Ninth Circuit. Because once the Ninth Circuit gets flipped, and I don't know how many vacancies there are on the Ninth, if any. I think there's a couple vacancies in the Ninth, but I'm not 100% sure. I would have to research that, and so I don't want to give bad information. If there were any vacancies on the Ninth, or if during his tenure he could flip the Ninth, or at least set the Ninth up to flip, that would shut down some of the complete jackassery that California is doing.
It's true. The leftists. But here's the other thing we need to realize. It's the leftists that put themselves in this place. When they decided for Neil Gorsuch that they were going to shoot the filibuster rule, and that, hey, dude, all you need is 51. Because, you know, you're going to push the nuclear button. Basically what that says, and again, I got to be honest, depending on who's in power, you're going to get some really people to the far right, and you're going to get really far left people, depending on who comes in for 2021, who gets installed as president.
Yeah.
The other thing is this. 2018, and when the Senate is up for re-election, if you don't keep that 51 number, Republicans, you arseholes, people like Graham, people like McCain,
Yep.
if you don't keep the Senate, the rest of this stuff is immaterial. You can nominate the finest of people for your federal courts, and particularly for SCOTUS, but if you can't push through that 51 or more, it's absolutely immaterial. Doesn't make a damn bit of difference. So you cannot afford to neglect the Senate.
No, you cannot.
That's where your votes come from. No matter who you want, no matter who you nominate. And to the Republicans, you should pack the ass of the Democrats as much as they packed it to you. Rack and stack as much as humanly possible. Ram it up their throats and up their bungholes, just like they've been doing it to the GOP for years and years and years. Sack up. Use your power. When you have it, wield it. At another time that was so frustrating, and that's what people that are actually conservatives and people of the right are so frustrated about the GOP is we've been here before and didn't use the power we had. The Republicans didn't use the innate power that they possessed. They had at one time, under Bush, the presidency. They had the Senate. They had the House. And what did they do with it? They were all about, we need to be conciliatory and we need to be bipartisan. Fuck that.
Here's the thing. The good news is that the Senate map for the 2018 election cycle looks really bad for Democrats. That's the good news. There are a lot of Democratic seats up, and I think only two. I think only two Republican seats that are up for re-election. So the Senate map, what is it? 10 Democrats. Do you have a way to pull it up? I don't have it. I thought 10 Dem, 2 Republican seats.
No, but Connor McMamba, put in chat a URL to the breakdown of the 137 current federal judicial vacancies, and that was a good thing to say. Again, to all the people in chat, Simone just left. Thanks for being in chat, because it's with you guys that we get all this good information as well. But like you say, okay, if it's looking good for the Senate,
well, it looks bad for the Democrats.
Fabulous. But now is not the time. It's just like I said on the 4th of July show. Now is not the time to back off. Now is the time to be even more resolute than ever before in our conservative values. We have to be. It absolutely has to be. And here, like you point out, here's a golden opportunity. You know, and here's the other thing. Conservative legal activists all over the place who've been talking to the White House sort of sub rosa about judicial nominees are saying this. And I don't know, maybe it's too early to be talking about it, but can you imagine the courts that you're going to have if Trump is a two-termer?
Yeah. But
Holy fuck.
But he has to have the Senate, too.
Yes, he has. He
has
must
to have the Senate,
absolutely
too.
Must have that. But again, these are some wonderful opportunities, the likes of which the Republicans cannot afford to pass up or step back and attempt to be conciliatory. You know my feelings about being conciliatory. It never works well. When there's bipartisanship demanded, the translation for that is you have to go along with the left. That's what bipartisanship means. You're only bipartisan if you see it their way. Compromise. The leftists all see it, compromise, as the only compromise is when you think the same way that we do.
Agree. Look, is the Hill? Would you consider the Hill a conservative or a liberal publication, or pretty middle of the road?
The Hill can go middle of the road left.
Okay,
I don't see it.
So I agree. I want to make sure we're on the same page, because I found an article.
Okay,
and the article I found is dated from November 16, 2016. It says 10 Senate seats that could flip in 2018, and of the 10 seats that can flip, 8 of them are Democrat, and this is according to the Hill. Okay.
Woohoo! That's fabulous.
They say Bill Nelson, Democrat out of Florida,
could
flip. Joe Donnelly, Democrat in Indiana, could flip. Claire McCaskill, I think that one's going to flip.
Oh, please.
Democrat out of Missouri. John Tester out of Montana. I can see that one flipping also. Okay. Dean Heller is the Republican seat out of Nevada, who they think the Dems could flip it. Heidi Heitkamp, out of North Dakota. Sherrod Brown out of Ohio. Bob Casey out of Pennsylvania. Look, I could see that with jobs and what the way Trump performed there. I could certainly see that. Joe Manchin out of West Virginia, and Tammy Baldwin out of Wisconsin.
Well, West Virginia, coal, jobs, hell yes,
absolutely. So 9. I said 8. I was mistaken. So 9 of the 10 seats, according to the Hill, could flip our Dems, and only 1 being a Republican. So
don't be shy, GOP. Don't be shrinking violets. Don't be little daisies. Don't be little flowers. Stand up for yourself, which is why I find it. I hadn't anticipated going here at all, but I'd be curious. I've looked at a lot of what Rand Paul has been saying about the Obamacare and the repeal and replace. Mm-hmm. And because I've actually read it, I like much of what Rand Paul has said and what he's advocating. And he's pretty much standing and saying we need to fight for this. The bills that so far have been proffered are like Obamacare light. And they don't have the real information within. I mean,
because they want bipartisanship.
None of that stuff is transportable. That's the first damn thing that you need to do, is make it transportable. And then, much less that, they're talking mostly about insurance. You need to transform the entire damn system. Yeah, that's an issue for another time.
What would happen if you outlawed medical insurance and just made it cash and carry?
But Rand Paul...
What do you think would happen?
I have to be honest. Up to a certain point, I think that you should pay for every doctor visit, whatever it costs, and make things competitive. Open it up. See, when the federal government took over student loans...
Oh, it was great.
Then tuition.
No, it was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
No,
because the first thing that happened is that tuition skyrocketed.
Yes.
Because each college and university knew that the federal government, more than anybody else, they're going to pay that shit off.
Listen, BZ, anything worth having is worth paying for. So those prices should have gone through the roof.
Well, anything free. So that's the same kind of crap that you're going to get in healthcare.
Of course it is.
And we just talked about death panels, and we just talked about Charlie Gard. That was an example. It's happening now.
Well, might as well go into it, because coming up in the next segment, we talked about the Obamacare repeal dead.
According
to a couple Republicans,
sure it's completely dead. I think that's a little bit more in terms of wishful thinking.
2 senators came out and said, John McCain, of course.
There you go.
Said on CBS that it's now time for Republicans to come up with a new proposal and get support from the Democrats. Quote, I think my view is it's probably going to be dead. But if Democrats are included...
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be.
It means they can have amendments considered. And the other jackass is Bill Cassidy out of Louisiana. He says, we don't know what the plan is. Clearly the draft plan is dead. Is the serious rewrite plan dead? I don't know. But, of course, cuckoo McCain. Republicans, you better figure it out.
People in Arizona, I have to consistently ask, what the hell are you thinking? McCain is no longer... I don't believe he's sound. I simply do not believe he's sound.
No, I don't either.
He's all about John McCain. Well, number one, that's true. He's all about John McCain. It's all about McCain's ego and what McCain can make of it. Number two, he's the guy, if you remember, has consistently threatened that if he doesn't get his way, he's going to jump ship and go over to the Democrats.
Bye. Go.
Do you remember the 2 times that he did that?
Yes.
That he made those threats, and he still stayed in the party. And I am absolutely convinced that he should change his R to a D and do it tomorrow, because then at least he'd be honest.
I think he should get on the big D.
Be honest.
I think he should take the D. I think John McCain should take the D all over his face. John McCain is a huge D. He's the biggest D in the Senate.
I know he served, and people consistently use this to buttress and support John McCain.
Great.
He served. He was a veteran.
Yes.
Okay, he was a POW in the Hanoi Hilton.
Yes.
Okay. What have you done for me today?
Yeah, he's a D.
Nothing. You're a Democrat. Admit it. Fess up. Move over into that line over there. That's where you really belong. Hello, John McCain. And in many instances, Graham's not that terribly far away.
No, he's not.
And there are others.
Look, the Republicans better figure it out, or they are going to be in a world of trouble coming. And you know what? Deservedly so.
Yeah, and
deservedly so.
That's why it's absolutely critical that they've got to get their act together. Look, I know we've got about 1 more minute to the last break.
I was just going to say, I can't believe they even recommended Mueller, the best buddy of Comey. Who does that? Fuck, talk about shooting yourself in the foot.
Well, and the other thing is, this could be endless. Jeff Sessions recusing himself. That was totally unnecessary. Totally. That didn't need to be done. And yet they're all worried about bipartisanship and what it looks like. Fuck that. The American media maggots have already decided that they're just another extension of the Democrat Party.
Yes,
That's all they are.
That's all they are. And I will say this for any of our leftist friends out there that think that we really don't care about the truth. Look, if an investigation shows, and there is proof that the president acted illegally. Look, I
haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it, but I'm saying if that came out, look, I'm on board with that. If the evidence shows the president did something illegally, then hey, it's a federal felony. Move forward with impeachment. Okay.
Dick Nixon was a Republican. When he did that, I was all for that. Okay. He's shown that he doesn't have the ability to govern.
Yes.
Logically, rationally. Out.
So, but let's have that discussion. So I don't want people to think that sackheads are just in the tank for. No, that's not what we're saying. We said the same thing about Hillary Clinton. Look, if the evidence shows she did something illegal, then she should be prosecuted for that.
Yeah, but all this specious bullshit about Russia, that's going nowhere.
There's not. Look, when you have far left people, go ahead, BC. I don't want to showbiz your segment here.
I'll do that when we come back.
Okay,
I'll talk about Mr. Gavin.
When we come back, Mr. Gavin, please stay with us on the other side of this break on the SHR Media Network, the Sack Heads Radio Show.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sack Heads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sack Heads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press Radio, and YouTube through the SHR Media page for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
Hey, this is Mim from Freedom Fest, the world's largest gathering of free minds. Join your friends from SHR Media at the beautiful Paris Resort in Las Vegas, Nevada, July 19th through the 22nd for 3 amazing days of liberty-oriented discussion, investment advice, and the Anthem Film Festival. It's our big 10th anniversary, featuring keynote speaker William Shatner and Freedom Fest favorites, including Steve Forbes, Jim Rogers, Lee Edwards, David Boaz, Doug Casey, Dinesh D'Souza, John Stossel, Lisa Kennedy, Grover Norquist, Peter Schiff, and many more. Don't miss out. Register at freedomfest.com for $100 off the regular registration rate when you use the all-caps code SHR Media.
Featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American maggots won't. BZ is fundamentally changing America one diaper at a time. Just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, where the speech is free, but the drinks are not. The Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night, commencing at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, where pushback is a requisite art form in and of itself. Let your ossicles be truly liberated when you listen to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, only on SHR Media Network. No ferrets were harmed in the making of this ad.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Sack Heads Radio Show for our final half hour, our final segment on the SHR Media Network.
You know, it's the same thing that we consistently say every time we do the show. And we just commented on the break. I said, this has been a great hour and a half. I've just enjoyed the hell out of it. And of course, you said, oh, well, that's probably the same thing that you tell Sean.
You say that to all the Sack Head shows.
Everybody.
You say that to all the hosts. So I sent Sean a text message letting him know that we outed him, that he's at a ballet recital in San Francisco, and he came back and he said, that's fine, thank God. So I think he meant thank God that everybody accepts him for who he is.
I'm sure that's exactly what he means, because everybody here in chat and everybody in Sackheads and the SHR Media Network, they're all very accepting, understanding people, as opposed to lots of other folks.
People on the left. So a shocking story for me that came out this week is there is a United States Army soldier who's based in Hawaii.
Ah, yes. Tell us about that.
This Sergeant First Class Ikaika Kang.
What?
Ikaika, Ikaika Kang, Asian.
Boy, say that 3 times fast.
Who was arrested at the Schofield Barracks in Honolulu, Hawaii, by an FBI SWAT team for providing material support to ISIS. He attempted to give classified and unclassified documents, as well as a drone, to agents and informants who he believed would pass that stuff to ISIS.
Why do you want to give a drone to ISIS? Just ISIS. Anybody in ISIS can walk into Best Buy these days.
Well, I don't know if they have Best Buy over there. But he also swore a loyalty oath, known as a bayat, to Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi.
Oh, great!
On Saturday, prior to his arrest. This is look. First of all, this is a United States Army soldier who is accused of trying to give ISIS these documents.
Well, and apparently
that would be treason, correct?
Yes.
That would be treason?
Yeah, most definitely.
Let's fucking call it treason then. Not arrested on some related to giving classified documents. No. He's a United States Army soldier who took an oath of office, who's attempting to give information to our enemies, to a group who is attempting to kill our way of life, who wants to kill us all. Fuck him. He's a treasonous bastard. Let's try him for fucking treason and go for the fucking death penalty. One of the few things on the federal level you can actually kill a motherfucker for.
Yes,
fuck
like
this guy.
Like this.
And
except with this major exception. Now, this guy's been under
surveillance. No, he's not a major.
No.
He's a sergeant first class.
Correct, good point.
Yeah.
He's been under surveillance for a year. But you're going to hear people on the left who are going to say, what, Clint? Oh, Chelsea Manning.
PTSD.
Except Manning is now a femaling, okay? And we Obama let Manning out early, and then while Manning
that's a disgrace.
Was in federal custody, they paid for his tits and his shots. It doesn't get any better than that. Thank you very much. Barack Hussein Obama and Manning did roughly the same thing.
Well, I want to get back to this jackass, Kang, fucking prick. This guy gets arrested at Schofield Barracks. Schofield Barracks is on the island of Oahu, and look, it's no secret.
Historically important because of
yes. And this is what I was going to say. I take this a little personal. My family was. Everybody knows my grandfather was a Pearl Harbor survivor. Yep. My family is all from Hawaii. Everybody was from the islands, and big military family. And look, Schofield Barracks was attacked December 7th, 1941. It's part of that history. It's one of the bases in that region.
Still bears the bullet holes
that
today.
Was attacked. And if this guy worked in a winery, he'd be a cork soaker. That would be his job. This cork soaker is plotting what?
Nothing. Go.
This cork soaker is plotting to turn over documents and a fucking drone to ISIS. Look, folks, we need to send a message. I'm a little fired up over this one. I don't know if you
yes.
can tell. And I think we need to start trying these people for treason and kill them. I think we need to go for the death penalty.
The attorney, though, if you read that article, the attorney is setting up the excuse already. The attorney named Birvar told NBC News back on Monday that Kang, this is a quote, he may have some service-related mental health issues which the government was aware of but neglected to treat. It's all about the government. It's not his fault. It's not his fault.
Mental illness is a fucking excuse for everything.
And they drove him to it. They had to drive him to it.
They made him take that
Major
oath.
Nadal, he was driven to that.
Yeah.
The guy that that threw a grenade into the tent in the early 2000s, he was driven to that. He wasn't accepted. They didn't give him hugs at night, and they didn't give him a teddy bear and tap him on the poo-poos as they put him to bed and put a mint on his pillow at night. So he was perfectly justified in that, and apparently so is this guy too. That's going to be his defense. Boom, right there.
No, but I agree. I think you're absolutely right. That's going to be his defense. So I say, let's go back to the old days. You caught somebody who was a treasonous bastard, and we're in a state of war with this. Yeah, why are we going to go through the whole charade?
Yeah, hello, Rosenbergs.
Right?
Yeah.
They fall under the military code of justice.
Yeah.
They don't fall under the civilian authority.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
different rules.
Yeah, but the Rosenbergs are gone. UCMJ has some really, really fang-filled sections in it. Let's use it.
Yeah. But we're a bunch of frickin' cowards now. All right, now I'm fired up. Kang. Oh, I got a defense for Kang.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to hear that.
Yeah.
Then.
No,
Okay.
this is a good one. I hope his attorneys are listening.
Okay.
You're fucked up. No, okay, a real defense for Kang.
Okay, that was 3 words. That's a short summary.
Yeah, that was more the prosecution. Kang. Okay, he's an Asian soldier, and people couldn't tell that he's Chinese or Korean or anything. He's not Japanese because there's one syllable in his last name.
Right.
And I'm not making a joke.
No, but that's true.
But
His
fellow soldiers. And even they can't tell that he's not Japanese. And since he is in Schofield Barracks, he felt shame and ridicule because of what the Japanese did on December 7th and being there.
Yep.
And he couldn't handle it anymore. And that's why he did it, because he was trying to belong because of that. And then he should go after the Japanese government, too.
He wanted a sense of belonging. He wanted a sense of family because he was not accepted for who he was there. Yes.
Right. Because they thought he was Japanese even though he wasn't.
Yep. I'd say that's absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. Here's the deal. What happened is they searched a bunch of hard drives, though, that belonged to him, and there were 18 military documents in his hard drives clearly marked secret. 16 of them remain classified today, the FBI said. They also found 500 documents that referred to ISIS or violence, including 13 issues of the Al-Qaeda magazine Inspire. Al-Qaeda has its own magazine, in case you didn't know it. It's called Inspire, because it's to inspire the true jihadist. And ISIS also has its own slick sleeve magazine, and that's called Dabiq, to inspire the average ISIS jihadist. That's wonderful. That's absolutely wonderful. Kang had a quote. He said, "People still say it's illegal to join them, but the way I look at it is they're just fighting people who are committing genocide there." That was written in the affidavit. I'm just going to go there and fight these guys who are committing genocide. Well, that's justification right there. Oh, come on.
He's going to fight ISIS?
No.
His father, I like his father. His father, quote, "He's a great kid.
He's always great kid.
He's not real outgoing. He's never been, but neither was I. But other than that, he's a great kid, a normal kid who grew up on Waimanalo."
He's just a normal kid. What are we doing screwing around with a normal kid?
If my kid joined ISIS, I'd be the first one to stand up and say, "I completely reject what so-and-so did. I love him as my child. I do not support this decision. I am disgusted and ashamed at this decision, but I still love them, my child, but they need to pay for the consequences of their action. That's me as a father.
Yep. But here's the other thing. It also says in the article that Ikeka converted to Islam and then went back and would teach his father the Quran when he was home and living in Hawaii. So there you go. That's why the father supports him. Mm-hmm. He's a like Muslim. Thank you very much. I'll be here all night, tip you, waitress.
That's why. I guess if I was also, maybe I would come out and say something very similar to that. But that's the kind of parent I am, right? If God forbid one of my children did something horrendous, I would stand up and say, I love my child, but I'm ashamed at what they did. It's wrong. And sometimes I disagree with it. They need to face the consequences.
Sometimes lessons have to be learned and consequences have to be absorbed.
Look, when one of my children was 3 years old, they were in a store and they took a little item, literally a small little item about the size of a dime.
Okay.
And they walked out with it. And they tried to secret it, so they kind of knew, I think, that they weren't supposed to take it. And
so that indicates clear
consciousness of guilt.
Thank you.
Yep, consciousness of guilt. So, and when asked about it, got the sheepish look down in a way and not wanting to show. I marched said child's little ass back in the store, made said child present it back to the store clerk, and in all of their embarrassment and shame, made them return it in front of everybody, other customers, and tell them they were sorry and they were wrong and would never do it again.
But the difference is that's what a good father does. That's not what today's leftist father does, but that's what a responsible father does.
How many people on the left just thought I abused that child? How many people on the left, their minds just exploded? Said, you can't shame.
You shamed and embarrassed that
poor child. Poor child.
Damn you.
You know what, though?
Damn you.
He's never done it again.
No. Mama said in chat, if I made a stupid decision like that, my parents would have hung me in the backyard on a tree for the neighborhood to see.
Yeah.
It's true.
I used to get the wooden spoon and the belt. You try that shit nowadays.
Oh, OMG. Yeah. People kids would be going, oot, oot, oot. 911. Hello, 911, what's your emergency?
Yeah.
My father just beat me with a belt. Bad father, open up.
Yeah. Fuck you, come get me.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, and I'm armed too.
How many guys you got? Yeah, you better bring more than that.
Looks like we're going to need a bigger police force. Yeah. Oh, wait, it's Clint.
Oh, shit. That's funny.
All righty. I'm still back at that. You know, the Democrat Party has lost it when you lose one of the biggest leftists ever. Gavin Newsom just came out, and of all places, well, actually not of all places because this is where he belongs, on MSNBC, Gavin Newsom just came out and said essentially that the Russia story is a big loser and it doesn't do anything for the Democratic Party. Can you imagine that? He actually speaks the truth. He said, there was a quote, he said, it doesn't do anything for the Democrats at all.
He said Democrats?
No, and I have to go back and say, yes, that's not.
So that's not part of the quote? Okay.
Yeah. It's not going to get one of our state houses back. And what he said here in this next paragraph is absolutely true. He added and he said, it's a loser. I don't know what more evidence you need. I mean, at the end of the day, even if you game this thing out, you get rid of Trump, you're left with the guy who's out there talking about conversion therapy. It doesn't do anything for the Democrat Party and our agenda. So unless we deal with the issues of economic anxiety. Okay, now
What?
This is telling. This is perfectly in keeping with leftist philosophy and says most everything that you need to know about the Democrats, because as far as he's concerned, the two primary issues that the United States needs to deal with is, number one, economic anxiety. Not the budget, not the economy itself. No, the anxiety experienced by the people. And number two,
The anxiety is because you tax us too fucking
yes.
much.
And number two, cultural issues.
Uh-huh.
So as in his fetid little leftist brain, that's number one.
Oh.
And number two of the most important things that the Democrats need to address right now.
Hey, maybe by cultural issues, he means a true American identity based on original founding principles and doctrine so that we can come together as Americans in our constitutional republic. What do you think?
You know, as an aside, it makes you wonder, does it not, how many politicians in D.C., in the House and the Senate, actually have read from beginning to end
Zero.
the Constitution,
Zero.
the Bill of Rights,
Zero.
the Federalist
Zero.
Papers,
Zero. The Anti-Federalist.
and the Anti-Federalist.
Zero. And I have one more to add to that. And The Rise and Fall of the Confederacy by Jefferson Davis.
Oh, hell no.
Look,
Oh, hell no.
Look, that is an important book. Jefferson Davis was kind of an egomaniac, but it's important to understand that perspective. Not because I agree that slavery was good, no, but to understand the perspective of the southern states and their view of the conflict. Because you did have a population that felt that the federal government
Wasn't serving their needs.
was not serving their needs. And guess what, folks? Per the Declaration of Independence, when the population feels that way, the people have a right, a duty to cast off that government and establish a new one in its place. And that's exactly what the South did.
Yes.
Again, do not take my comments out of context and think that I'm a proponent of slavery, because I'm not.
No, but it's the fundamental issue upon which that's predicated.
Correct. So when people say, well, that issue's been decided, well, no.
Duh, but that's not the point.
But that's not the point.
That's not the point
So-
you're making.
Well, Sawyer, a California Democrat elected to state government, said that, well, we're in California, we don't pay much attention to the Constitution here. That is a state.
Now, someone actually said that in the California legislature.
Yeah, Sawyer, let me see if I can pull up the quote.
Okay, well, while you're doing that, I'm going to continue on with the Gavin Newsom quote. He says, so unless we deal with the issues of economic anxiety, cultural issues in a substantive way, and we get in the how business, and we actually demonstrate with some acuity and strength a clear conviction in terms of the fate and future of this country, then we're never going to take back these state houses. Hello, Captain Obvious. Now, not for the reasons that he states, but again, what he's essentially saying is we need to stop doing what we've consistently been doing. And just as I quantified this in terms of CNN, I'll say it of the Democrats and the leftists.
Uh-huh.
I will gladly stand there and watch you commit seppuku.
Yes.
I will be your second. I will be your willing second. And as your second, I will also
No, you know what? Because that's reserved for honor.
Yeah, but I'd still go there anyway.
Yeah, I
But
would. That's reserved for honor.
I will be the first to point out that it's not just the horizontal thrust. You need some vertical thrust in there too. Willingly, I would do that.
So this is Sawyer, Reggie Jones Sawyer, and he says, quote, "This is California. We don't pay too much attention to the Constitution." And
He's right.
he is, but who says that? Hang on, let me see if I can play it. Ready?
That's incredible.
Chair is going to recommend an aye vote to kind of clarify whether or not there are any court cases that would, I know you're a lawyer, but that
State Assembly
would make this unconstitutional. Would that be a problem? And I also know the legislature sometimes ignores whether or not it's constitutional or not. We go ahead and make laws because we're California and we do it anyway.
That is a state of California legislative member.
Brilliant, and I'm sure, number one, he thinks that's absolutely right, and number two, what's wrong with that? Yeah, he doesn't see anything wrong with that.
No, he legitimately does not see anything wrong with that.
So for once, he's being honest.
Yeah, it just happened to be recorded.
Well, if...
Oops.
I go back
he
to
said
this.
That in open forum.
Yeah, I go back to this. If there's one thing that I do appreciate about Bernie Sanders is he tells you what he's thinking and he tells you who he is. And he doesn't pull any punches. He's a fucking socialist, and he's proud of it. Okay, I can deal with that. Now I know how to craft whatever things I need to craft for or against Bernie Sanders.
Well, one thing I know...
He's not a in other words, he's not a hypocrite.
He's not. But what I do know is one way we're going to start combating the socialist slant in our country is we're going to start by going to Freedom Fest. It's in the name. Freedom Fest.
I can't wait.
We got 5 minutes left. And I want to know, what is the, and I know there's probably more than one, what are you most excited about? Besides being in Vegas with Sean and I. Which is going to be a fucking blast, by the way.
But I made a bit of a tactical error last year. I only went to go see one person speak, and I saw Judge Andrew Napolitano speak.
You and I were sitting together.
Yes, and I have to tell you that in terms of what I would consider to be an extemporaneous speaker, he was absolutely brilliant. Mm-hmm. And the things that he was saying, I wish I could have recorded him. I don't know whether it was legal to do that. Perhaps there were people in there already doing that. But in any event,
we will press.
I would love to go and hear more speakers because there are going to be a ton of them. Greg Gutfeld is going to be there. Larry Elder is coming back. There's somebody else. I think Michael Medved is coming back. There's going to be William Shatner. There's a whole bunch of other people. The Libertarian is going to be there, well, obviously, John Stossel. Mm-hmm. There's just a ton of people to see. And the other thing that's
we
cool
haven't had luck with Stossel. Stossel, remember, we were, I don't know if it was...
I wasn't there.
You weren't there for that?
Nope.
Yeah. we got shut out of Stossel because we were media.
And somebody else said that Dinesh D'Souza wasn't a particularly kind individual when they attempted to contact him. But the thing that's cool about Freedom Fest is you get to watch all the people walking by the show, and you occasionally snag some people, and you sit them down, you interview them, you talk to them, and you begin to understand the vast and wide array of experience that people have and all the things that they bring to the table. Plus, it was just a ton of fun. I got to meet all sorts of new people. I got to meet and to go to know you guys. And the big difference for me this year, as opposed to last year, is last year I didn't even have a show. Mm-hmm. I was just sort of the third wheel, so to speak. Now I've got a show. Now I feel invested in SHR. I didn't really feel that very well invested. Now you guys were brilliant in terms of you were really accepting of me, and you really did make me feel like I was part of the family. But now I feel even more invested, and whatever you guys need for SHR, I'm there. And I know for a fact I'm going to have a great time. We're going to talk to all sorts of people. I mean, you guys got some great interviews. You guys snagged Foreman. You snagged Joe Foreman. We almost got Don King.
Yes.
Almost. I mean, it was close, but no cigar. Maybe it was the hair on top of his head. You guys got Steve Forbes. You got Steve Forbes to sit down and drink a snifter of scotch with you guys.
Yep.
I mean, you don't find that stuff. You get to meet all sorts of people, see all sorts of people, and you just have a damn good time. That's what I'm looking forward to in Freedom Fest.
And I hope that I hope that everybody listens live to us. We're going to be going live throughout the show, much like we do every year.
Yep.
I know you're going to do a show from Freedom Fest.
I'm going to hope to do.
We're going to be together on next Wednesday night. It's going to be live from Freedom Fest.
I'm going to hope to do my Tuesday night show. It'll be late. We're going to do a Sack Head show Wednesday, and I'll do another show on Thursday.
So Tuesday if you're where I'm guessing we'll probably do a joint like an SHR show. Like a joint kind of welcome to Freedom Fest kind of a thing.
Yeah, because basically that'll be. Wait a minute, is Tuesday day one the official day one, or is Wednesday the official?
Wednesday's the official day one.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, it'll be sort of an intro show.
Yeah,
to get everything going.
Wednesday we'll be doing just SHR shows throughout. You'll be going throughout. Kind of like we do. It's really, we really don't do it under Sack Heads or anything else. It's all part of the SHR family and umbrella. And
well, if we can find the video, what I'd like to do is I'd like to have a video of you and Sean on that panel talking.
Yeah, please.
That would be great.
Please take one.
And then put it up on the internet. Everybody look at it.
Unless we sound like complete knuckleheads, then don't. Well, it's 10 o'clock, folks. We got to get going. Please join us next week, Freedom Fest 2017. Thank you to all of our affiliates. I'm sorry, at 10 o'clock I don't have time to name you all, but all the SHR affiliates, we love you all. To our fans out in America, all across the world who tunes in and listens.
Berserk Bobcat Saloon tomorrow night with Dr. Jones.
That was shameless of you.
Dr. Jones?
Shameless of you, just so you know.
I know. That's my job.
Absolutely. Shameless.
Take care, everybody. Good night.
We're going to outro out. Good night, America.
Conservative talk show in America, Sack Head Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sack Head Sean and Sack Head Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late night conservative talk, Sack Head Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
Sack.
The best late night conservative talk show in America. In America.
Into the silo.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.